G'day folks. I'm staying undercover a little bit, sort of behind these trees, and it's very green. It's nice and shady in here, a bit out of the sun. But just a little while ago I discovered the flying fox camp that has moved into my area. And yes, they are called camps, groups of flying foxes. Now, although they are much maligned, these guys, I actually have quite a soft spot for them. I think they're totally cool. I think you might have been able to see the teeth on them. Their teeth are like a mouthful of tiny knives. Now they're around about 1 kilo in weight. Wait, no one here. And they're in the group is what's known as megabats, which is in itself a pretty cool title. Megabat. You'll usually smell them at the same time as you hear them. I'm just going to pop out a little bit around here. Yeah, the branches are just festooned with them. They rest up during the day and then head out at night. And I was alerted to their presence about a month or so ago. I came out of the local shops and they were on the rise, and it was quite a sight. In fact, a lot of locals were just standing there agape, looking up. It's not unusual to see them, of course. They do fly over pretty much every night. But to have a camp so close to town, you could tell that they'd bedded down nearby and they were on the rise, and the sky was just black with them. So this is right on the edge of their camp. I've come through a pretty gnarly area. It's all Biden's Pelosa and thorny bushes and crappy stuff. And you might be able to hear kids in the background as well, because this is not far. Oh shit! This is not far from the back of the primary school. I'm glad I bought the still camera. Some of these guys are really quite low, and they've got the beautiful red russet sort of neck and collar. The wings are black. The Latin name is Pteropus poliocephalus. I remember that because polio and cephalus sounds like encephalitis, so the two things that you really don't want. The other thing, which is probably why they are much maligned, is because they also carry lysovirus and the hendra virus. So a bite or a scratch from one of these big boys will kill you. Yeah, it's more often than not fatal, unfortunately. There has been deaths in Australia. They tend to electrocute themselves a lot too, because their big wings come down over the power lines. They touch two power lines at the same time. Zap. So you see their crispy, oh thanks mate, crispy carcasses sort of quite often. But like I said, I quite like them. I don't want one as a pet, but I just think they look awesome. Yeah, so here's a camp. This is right on the edge of the camp. I can't go any further into there. It's really thick bush. So it's right here, just on the edge of this creek where you can see the bulrushes growing there. Now these guys have wound up here because they've been displaced by the fires, which thankfully have abated and they're all out. And these guys have been displaced, don't know where from, probably from the mountains, where they got smashed by the fires up there. And now these guys have come down here, don't know how big the flock is, but hundreds and hundreds, possibly thousands. There's a flock, a local camp, look at that wing. They do that to cool down. Oh, lots of little veins in the wings, so they open up the wings, cool the body down. It's like an elephant's ear. Magic. Now look at that claw on the Yeah, they've got devastating claws and the teeth. Really nasty. And for a fruit eater, I don't know why they've got such gnarly cutlery. But anyway, they do. And yeah, there's a population outside Nowra, which is about 2 hours south of Sydney, in a place called Bomaderry. And there's another population further north, just outside Wollongong, somewhere around there. Not sure where they are, but you see them up that way a fair bit too. And these guys have turned up down here and set up camp right on the edge of town. I mean, that way, it took me about 1 minute to walk here from the local shops. But I don't think many of the locals, if they know they're here, they don't care much about it. But I do. I think it's a good opportunity. I haven't been out and about much. Honestly, I have a reoccurring back injury and it's been giving me some jip. But this is a small walk. I don't have to boot up or anything for this. They pretty much came to me. So yeah, this is a grey-headed flying fox, they're called. There are bigger ones. There's a black flying fox further north, up in Queensland in that subtropical and tropical areas. He's a beautiful big thing. Solid black all over. Shiny black, like a sort of like a black bear black. The reason I'm hanging back as well is, I told you earlier, they carry the Hendra virus and the Lysa virus. And I don't want them to rise. If I scare them and they rise, when they do rise, they melee around quite a bit. And I don't want to risk getting a scratch. Because, yeah, these guys put you in the ground quick as shit. Pardon me. So they lay around, they hang around, literally hang around all day in the trees. Just doing that, what they're good at. Looking like little Draculas. They sleep and they chatter and they whinge and they screech and they do their business everywhere. But the smell is quite intense. It's not a particularly foul odour, it's just very strong and astringent. So a real ammonia smell, like foxy sort of smell. If you've ever been to the nocturnal house at the zoo, you walk in and you smell that smell straight away. Well, imagine that right now times 1,000. Yeah, the camp goes right back over there. Over here, up to the left hand. It's up. Some little guys up there too. And all around. I'll just let you listen to them for a minute. So there you have the Australian grey-headed flying fox, Pteropus polyocephalus. They can sound quite bird-like, eh? Like cockies sometimes. They're, so like I said, even though they're not very well loved, they do an incredible job of pollinating and scattering seeds. Over 100 different plants are directly responsible for the propagation of and continuance of those plants. This guy having a scratch. They wrap themselves up in their wings, tuck their little heads in. Great. I think they're awesome. You might not like them, but I love them. As they keep away. They look awesome flying across the moon at night in big flocks. Very spooky, atmospheric. They're wonderful flyers. They don't migrate or anything. They just fly around to where the food is. They do have permanent camps, but they also, you know, once the food source is exhausted in one area, off they go. Yeah, look at this, about 1 kilo in weight. Fruit, flowers, nectar, all that stuff they love. Anyway, I'm going to put the video camera away and take some still shots. And thank these guys for turning up right on the edge of town. Make it easy for me. See you later.